Hello, a very good morning to you all. Good morning to Bethel. Good morning to Serena, who's already in, ready to go. We have some lovely little bracelets for you today. I've called them Stacey. They are little stacking bracelets. So it is a memory wire coil, which is tempered steel. And usually with a memory wire, it's like this. It's like a big slinky, and that wraps up your arm. This is going to give the same effect, but we're just going to make a cuff with it. So it is adjustable, essentially. It will stretch out to the size that you want to. I'm using lovely little sparkly crystals and seed beads in a size 6 today. We've got 4 lovely colours for you, but there is a little discount if you wanted to multi-buy. So if you wanted to get 2 kits, and that way you can mix your colours as well. So you could mix the crystals, with a different colour of seed beads. Because of the way these are designed, I think they're really summery, but if I take you down very quickly on the mat, you'll see I have picked out some kind of festive colours. So if you wanted to mix the red and the green, it would be a very festive way, I think. I also think the purple and the blue look particularly beautiful together. I'll pop them this way. You can open them up, but you could see how they would look if you wanted to mix a couple of those together. And it just opens up at the back using a little pin, so you can pop them onto your wrist, and it looks like you're wearing 5 separate bracelets. They just cuff all together, and they're very, very pretty. So we've got a green, a purple, a red, and a blue colourway for you. They're all on silver wire, memory wire, and I'm using little pins to join them together. But it's a very straightforward make. You need quite minimal in terms of the materials and the tools. For my tools, I am using some memory wire cutters. Now, if you don't have memory wire cutters, you can use some heavy duty cutters. I say it every time I'm using this memory wire, because it's a tempered steel, it holds that shape, it holds its coil in its round form, so it's brilliant. But it is much, much tougher and stronger than a normal traditional wire. So if you're going to use your wire cutters, you're going to end up putting little dinks in them and blunting them, and then they won't be usable. So heavy wire toolbox cutters or some specific memory wire cutters is what I would definitely suggest for you to use. I'm going to use my bail step plier to turn little loop on the memory wire. That's just going to make sure that all my loops at the end are really even and nice. So I'm going to be using this loop here. If you haven't got them, round nose do just a good enough job. And I will be using my round nose to turn my pins at the end. You're going to get some eye pins in your kit as well, which have a little loop already made on one side. And then I suppose you may possibly want some chain nose pliers just to kind of manipulate which way round those loops are going to face. That's it. That's all you're going to need today. I'm hoping, yeah, we've already got a frozen camera, which isn't great, is it? So why I attempt to fix this, I don't know why it's gone off. I will say good morning to you all. I knew it was going to be one of those today. I don't know why it's done it, but it has nevertheless. So I'm going to just have to keep prodding the camera, I suppose, and check that it stays awake. So let me say good morning to you all. I have the lovely Mina in. I've got loads of you in today. Thank you so much for being with me. So hello to Bethel, hello to Serena. I hope I'm pronouncing everybody's name right. Hello to Anastasia. Good morning to Jan. Hello to Carol and Rachel and Lisa and Kath, who says good morning. These look very pretty. Jan says I've just opened a box of goodies from Totally Beads. Janice is in as well. She says she's not been here for a while, but it's nice to see me. It's nice to see you, Janice. Thanks for being with us. Heather's in as well. How are you doing today? Jan says these look fabulous, which is lovely to hear. I'm just going to keep pressing my camera. I hope it works. Mina sent so many lovely colours. Just amazing, saying good morning. Jan says, I've got a pair of Joron heavy duty pliers for memory wire. Ooh, look at you using the fancy ones. I love my Joron tools. There's lots of different types of pliers and cutters and things you can get, but for me, they're my trusty go-tos. I absolutely love them. Good morning to Anne. I mean, when I started doing memory wire, I was literally just using some out the toolbox, just that live under the stairs in the cupboard. It wasn't anything fancy, but they did the job. Good morning to Anne. Hello to Heather, saying lovely colours as well. Izzy saying good morning. These look great. Well, I'm glad that you like them. I'm going to take you over to the Totally Beads website. So we are totallybeads.co.uk, and you can find your kits here, all working accordingly. Hopefully we'll see how we get on. So you can click into the video tutorials under the jewelry making section at the top in the drop down box, or you can click here, visit our warehouse. I'm going to be visiting the warehouse on Friday. So we've got the video tutorials here and here as well, whichever one you fancy. All takes you into the same place. So just in case you couldn't find it, we are here. At the moment, it's looking like it's on the second row for me, but I know depending on what browser you search through, it sometimes moves. These are the Stacey Cuff Sparkle Bracelets. They couldn't be any more straightforward. They're a really good beginner make to play with. So you can see I've got a blue iris, an emerald green, a purple iris, and a red. They're all £8.99, but we've got a 2 for 15 on as well. So if you did, as I say, want to mix those colours up, if you wanted to multi-buy, you could do a row of each one if you wanted. I think they all kind of complement each other quite well. I love the red and the green for a festive make. I love the purple iris and the blue iris. I think mixing the blue and the emerald green would look lovely as well. You could do a little bit of a mix and match. You could make a red and blue. You could go quite patriotic with your colours if you wanted to. Lots to be done in terms of playing around with the colours and the design. I'm just threading them on straight, so I've got all of one colour on each coil of memory wire. But of course, if you wanted to, you could completely mix them up as well. You could alternate the colour of your crystals or your seed beads. So if we go in it quickly, you can see exactly what we are using. I've got the crystal Rondelle beads, the Toho seed beads, the memory wire, and the Eyepins. That's all I need. And in terms of the sizes, I'm using 3x4 crystal rondelles. My Toho seed beads are a size 6, so they're quite chunky then, really nice. Got a lovely size drill hole, not too fiddly to pick up. And I'm using a 0.6mm memory wire, which means it's going to keep that sturdiness and that shape, but it's not going to be too difficult to turn those loops. Sometimes when you use a 0.8 or a 1mm, which would be 28 gauge, I think, 20, depending on which one. Yeah, it's just sometimes very, very tough to turn those loops. So these are nice, straightforward, easy makes in every sense. So they're if you want to know your colours as well, I'm using the Rainbow Line Sapphire in terms of the seed beads to go with those blue iris 3x4 crystals. And that's how it looks. Neat, pretty, simple. And then we have the emerald. Love these colours together. Really, really beautiful. I've got the most gorgeous sparkly crystals. Again, still 3x4. These are the emerald green AB. And I'm using silver grass green size 6 Toho seed beads. And then you've got your memory wire. You've also got your pins as well. I'm using a 50mm eye pin. If you want to, you could use a little piece of wire instead. But I like using the pins because they've got that kind of sturdiness to them as well. This one is the purple iris. Look at them colours together, absolutely gorgeous. So I'm using the metallic Polaris, I think it's pronounced, and then the purple iris, and I just think they look really lovely together. Again, think they look lovely with the blue iris as well. And lastly, but by no means least, we've got this gorgeous ruby red colour. Very nice and bold. Don't often wear red jewellery, but this, I'm liking this. I've missed a coil off that, I think. Yeah, I think I have, and I've only just noticed. So when I'm making these, I tend to make 3 of the crystals and 2 of the seed bead coils. But you can see here, I've only got 4. So if you wanted to do it that way instead, you could. You could just put 2 together. You could make even more. You could make it wider. You could have 3 of each. I just kind of like having the placement, so it tends to go crystal, seed bead, crystal, seed bead, crystal. But isn't that funny? It's only now I've took those photographs, I've uploaded those photographs, I've edited the photographs, I've worn the bracelet, and I've only just noticed. So in the colours of this one, we've got the silver lined ruby and we've got the opaque red 3x4s. So they're your colour choices today. They're all £8.99. But of course, we've got that offer on 2 for 15. If you wanted to buy all 4, you absolutely can do. That offer will still stand. If you just want to get 2, you can do. If you want to get 1, you can do. If you just want to watch and see how it's done and then decide, then you're absolutely welcome to do that as well. So hopefully my camera will want to stay playing and we will take you down on the mat. It is quite a quick make, but we'll see how it goes. Mina's saying we need a gold colour too. Elena's saying good morning everyone. Sorry I'm late. Good morning. You're okay. You're not late at all. You've not missed anything. Just been going through tools and materials. Sheila's in as well, and Rachel is saying about passports. Where are you going? You going anywhere nice? Anyone going on holiday? I don't need a passport to go to Clacton or Colchester. Alison says we have sunshine in Cape Town, and how wonderful to link in. It is wonderful, Alison. It's absolutely wonderful to have you here with me today. It is not that sunny at all here. It's not cold, but it's very, very overcast. It's always the way, isn't it? When the summer holidays start, the sunshine goes. And Heather's waiting on an order as well. She says she's got some macrame kits in. Not done a macrame make for ages. I haven't really, have I? Right, okay, let's make it. So what I want to take 5 coils of my memory wire. I'm going to make 3. Let's take one that I've done properly. I want to make 3 with the crystals and 2 with the seed beads, so I can alternate them like that. So I'm going to need 5 coils in total. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little slinky of memory wire and I'm just going to pull one slightly away from the other one. When I'm going to cut my coil, I want just over 1. So I'm not going to cut here. If I was to cut here, it would be 1 perfect one. Because I want to turn some loops, I'm going to cut a little bit further down. So it's just over 1 coil. Of course, if you want to cut more and make them larger, they're going to just open out like so, and you can put more crystals on. What I would suggest is always cut a little bit more, and then you can cut off anything you don't want. So really straightforward. If you've got the proper tools, it will just cut through like butter. So I'm going to cut 5 of my coils. Once I've got all my coils cut, and they're roughly about the same, I'm going to turn a little loop on one end. I'm going to keep this coil in its nice rounded shape, but I'm going to turn a little loop just so when I start threading on my beads, they're not going to fall off and they're not going to fall off. So how I'm going to do to turn that, I'm going to take my dial step making pliers or my round nose pliers, and I'm just going to turn in a loop like I would usually. I want that nice and flush. And I'm just going to use my thumb to guide it round. So I'm going to just give it a little turn and turn it all the way. And now we've got a little loop, but that loop's not straight. So I'm going to come back in with my pliers and I'm going to push it back. And then I will have centered that loop. I want to make sure that it's fully closed. So just adjust as you need to. And don't worry if it's a little off. You can, of course, just come in and straighten it up if you need to with the chain nose pliers and close that in a little bit more. So I just want a small loop at the end, which is centered. I'll do that again on another one so you can see. So I'm just moving one coil away from the other. I'm keeping that shape. I'm not opening it out too much. And I'm just going to turn little rotations all the way around. You can turn it slightly past the point where it meets if you need to, and then just bend it back, pushing in the other direction. So using this gauge of the memory wire just makes it nice and easy to manipulate. I can bend that as much as I want to, and I can just make sure it's fully centered, a little press to close. So I've got my loop on one side, and now I'm just going to start threading on my seed beads or my crystals. Now what I tend to find is when I have my crystals, I tend to use about 56 crystals on each coil, and you can pick them up one by one. But what I tend to find is the easier way and the quickest way to do it is if I just open up my strand. I'm going to keep my coil in its coiled shape, and I'm not going to be able to do this now, am I? They should. Let's say you can pick them up and you can put them on one by one if you want to just spill them out on the table. But what I tend to find is easier to do is if I line it up with the thread, I can just transfer them from the strands onto the memory wire coil. So I'm just going to keep pulling that strand back with my finger just to keep it out of the way, while I just line up my crystals and thread them on. And you can count as you go. I mean, it's not an exact science. It depends how wide you want to make them. I want to basically fill up this full coil. So I'm going to use about 56. And I'm not pulling too much on the memory wire. I'm just lining it up and threading on one and sliding them around, just pulling out that strand. I think what I'll do is I'll probably do a little mix make today and one full colour. So I might make one in green and then I might do a little mix so you can see how they look. So just line it up. Sometimes the strands are on this kind of like a nylon thread. Sometimes it's on a thin piece of wire. I'll show you the same method using both. Sometimes you might find it's a little fiddly, and then in that case just spill them out and pick them up, and I'll show you how to do that with the seed beads, because obviously the seed beads don't come on a ready-made strand. So I'm just pushing them around. That little loop that I've created at the end will act as a stopper, so as I do push my beads round, we're not losing any on the other end. Every now and again I might just trim away the little tail so it doesn't get in the way. And I'm just going to line them up until I've filled the most of my coil. Now bear in mind, I still want to leave a couple of maybe a centimetre, because I still need to turn my loop at the end. So I'm going to fill it up until basically these two, the first crystal and the last crystal, is pretty much lined up with each other. And I'm going to leave myself about a centimetre of the memory wire, which will be enough for me to turn a loop to match. Now, instead of turning the loop as I did to begin with, I'm going to push that crystal right up so this is nice and flush, and I'm just going to bend it, the wire, horizontally. So it's dipping down a little bit. That's okay. I can manipulate it and maneuver it in a little while. But I'm just going to give it kind of a horizontal bend. And then again, if I think I've got more than a centimetre there, I don't need it all. I'm just going to trim off with my memory wire cutters and putting my hand over it just to kind of shelter it a little bit so it doesn't fire away. And then I'm coming in again with my memory wire cutters. I want to use that smallest loop. So I'm just going to start to turn. Little rotations all the way around, just like I would normally turn a loop, and then just straighten it if need be. So I'm just going to knock it back and then pop my memory wire loop back in just to make sure it's closed. Again, if need be, you can manipulate and reposition with your pliers, but I just want those two loops to be facing like so. So that's how to do it with the crystals. If you are going to do it with the crystals which come on this strand here, it will work just the same. So I've got the blue ones, but this is on the wire rather than the kind of nylon cord. So I'm just going to open up the end. And I'm just going to thread all of my crystals from one to the other. Just find this method is the quickest. So it can vary in terms of how many you want to put on. I tend to put on about 56 of the crystals, as long as the coils that you made are roughly the same size, then it should work. So sliding them on. Just transferring from one to the last. I'm just going to move that wire out of the way. Line it up through the drill hole in the crystal. And I'm just sliding them on and pushing them around. See how this is looking. I'm going to take one off. That's going to leave me with roughly about 1 centimetre. So I'm going to bend close to that crystal in a kind of horizontal, and then just position my pliers in the loop that I want. Just open out the other one so it doesn't get in the way. It's getting in the way a bit there. There you go. All the way around, a little rotation. You can turn it so it touches on itself and then straighten up. Probably got a little bit bigger than I need there. So I might trim off a little bit more, because I want my loops to be roughly the same size. Oh, okay. So I want in total 3 of the crystals. I'm going to do a bit of a mix, but I'll have 3 in total. And then I'm going to start threading on my seed beads. And this works exactly the same. So I'm going to need 2 coils of the seed beads. So just got myself twisted a little bit there. Again, I still want to just cut just over half, just over 1. So I can always cut off more if need be. I'm going to come in with my pliers. Don't need to be too forceful on it. Just going to give it a little rotation. So I'm pushing it with my thumb till I've got that loop, and then I can straighten it. If it's a little bit tilted, very gently, I can just reposition with my pliers. And then in this way, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour my seed beads out onto the table, and I'm going to use the section which I haven't looped. Just want to close that in a little bit more. So the bit that hasn't got the loop on, I'm just going to pick them up off the table. So I'm keeping that coil. I'm not opening it out and pulling on it too much. I'm just moving the loop away from it, and then just scooping them up, just like picking up with a needle. Picking them up off my mat and then sliding them on. Now, because I'm using the size 6, they're a really good size. They're quite chunky. If I was doing these with size 11s, I wouldn't be able to do it so speedy. I'd need a lot more, but also I'd probably struggle with, the size of the drill hole. Whereas this is quite big. You can just pick them up really, really quickly. Now, obviously, your seed beads are fairly uniform in size, but they might have a difference between one and another. So I tend to go for about 66 of the seed beads for one coil. But you might find that if you've got some that the odd, a little bit bigger, you might need 64. But it's 64 to 66 there or thereabouts, I've found, with all of these colours. So let's see, once I've picked these up, where I'm getting. Okay, again, it's pretty much meeting one full circle. I might add maybe one extra. Anastasia's saying that blue's beautiful. They're really, really sparkly. This is the blue iris. I want to make sure that that loop is fully turned in. There's a little gap. I don't think it's fully turned, so I will have a little check on that. So just let the coil spring back. Check you've got roughly the amount that you need. And again, I'm just going to give it a little bend. So we don't want to be too forceful with it because it might break. You can see I've already lost a seed bead there, so I'm going to slide my seed bead back on. And I'm just going to push it down with my thumb. So just like, oh, frozen again. Do excuse me. Right. It's going to be one of those days, and I don't know why. Let me. All because it didn't touch my phone in a whole 3 minutes. Sometimes it does it, and other times it doesn't, and I don't know why. It is temperamental. But do bear with. I apologise. Are we the right way round? Okay. All is good. Right. So I'm going to make sure I've got all of the seed beads on and pop it down with my thumb so it doesn't fall off. Just moving that coil slightly to the side so it doesn't get in the way. I'm going to check I've got about 1 centimetre. If I want to cut any off, then I can do. And then I'm just going to line it up and start to curl it round, just using my thumb. It's a little bit skew, so I'm just gonna very gently just tilt it back up and hope it doesn't snap. Okay. Reposition if need be. Just make sure those loops are closed, because we are going to be using eye pins next and we don't want the eye pins to slip out. So I'm just going to check that those loops. Take your time with it. I'm rushing with mine. Okay, so I'm going to have 3 coils with the sparkly crystal rondelles, which are the 3 by 4 millimeter, and then I'm going to be using 2 coils of the seed beads, and the seed beads I only need the 2, so I'll just take these 2. Are going to be positioned in between, so I'm going to go crystal, seed bead, crystal, seed bead, crystal, and that's how I'm going to have my bracelet positioned. You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to mix them up, you can do. Sorry, I'm distracted. Joanne says, trying to watch while singing with my granddaughter. She loves, if you're happy, if you know it, clap your hands. There you go. Right, now I'm going to get 2 of my eye pins out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my seed beads as well. I'm going to say pick just because I think I'll use green because I've got predominantly green in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a seed bead and I'm going to slide it on to my eye pin. And then I'm going to pick up my first coil. And see, this is why we want our coils to our loops to be facing flat. Because if they're slightly twisted, it'll skew. So we're going to pop our eye pin through with 1 loop of our coil, and then we're going to pick up another seed bead and slide that on. We're then going to take the next loop of our coil and we're going to slide that one through. And then another seed bead. And then our next one. I've put them in the wrong order, haven't I? I said I've got to have crystals on the outside. Okay. So starting off with my crystal. And then my seed bead onto the eye pin. And then my next coil. This one is the seed beads. And then another seed bead onto the pin. So you're just going to be splaying them out with the seed beads in between, just to kind of space them. And a seed bead. And then I'm going to go for the coil of seed beads. And then another seed bead onto the pin. And then my last coil. So I'll have 5 coils of memory wire. And then another seed bead. And I'm going to push them down so they're sitting flush. So just move them out the way. What I'm going to do is I'm then going to do a bend close to that last seed bead on my pin. So I'm going to bend that so it's almost horizontal, so my loop will turn up. And then I'm going to cut. You can use your normal cutters or you can use your memory wire cutters with this, because these are just your pins. I'm not doing the memory wire. And I'm going to leave about 1 centimetre from the bend. And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm just going to turn a little loop all the way round which will catch my seed beads in between with my coils. Now you can, if you've made 6, you can plait these as well if you wanted to. What I'm going to do, if I've got them like this, is I'm going to line it up again, and I'm going to take another of my pins and do exactly the same. So I'm going to make sure that my coils aren't kind of crossing over and they're in the order that I want. And I'm just going to slide on and I'm kind of skewing them this way just so you can see going through before my camera decides to cut off again. So just one at a time, placing the seed bead on, passing the pin through the next loop, seed bead on, passing through the last loop, pushing all the way down so that my seed bead is flush against that last pin, and then another seed bead on. If I've got the same size and they're in the same order, should have just checked that they're not crossed over. Yeah, I'll just push them all down flush so that my loops are sitting nicely. Manipulate them if you want to, and again just going to bend close to the top, make sure that seed bead is pushed down. It can be a little bit fiddly because obviously it wants to coil round. And then I'm going to trim, leaving roughly about 1 centimetre, and then just curling around with the round nose pliers to create that loop. And then I have my bangle done. So what it will look like if I show you this, as I have turned those loops, they will just come and sit flat next to each other. So I want the loops to be roughly the same size on each one. And those seed beads, sorry, I'll get in shot, should just sit flush. Don't know why I managed to miss one off. Did I miss one off? I didn't. Did I photograph a different one? There's 3 on there. Don't know how that's happened, but you can see, so I've got 3 of my crystals alternating with my seed beads, and then when I put the pin on, it's just seed bead loop, just being thread onto the pin. And then that will give my bracelet the adjustability. I don't need any clasps or anything like that. It's just going to open up and sit on the wrist. So I've got my blue iris, so it looks like 5 little bracelets. I've got this lovely ruby red one. If you wanted to make multi-buy, but you did just want to mix them as making them individual and then placing them on, you can of course make a massive cuff bracelet and stack them all up this way. But because they're memory wire, they will open up, so you can see as I'm moving up my arm and my arm gets wider, then they will just open up too, and they fit fairly comfortably. They're not too heavy. I mean, it's quite heavy when you've got all 4 of the colours on. But you can see it will open out a little bit. If you want them wider again, then all you need to do is just add on more seed beads. So you want them roughly the same size. As I say, I usually put on about 56 crystals and 66 or 64 seed beads each one. I just like touching them. They make a nice sound. Just Me says, thank you, Natalie, beautiful. Rachel says, lovely and sparkly, great for the party. Good morning to lovely Esther. How are you doing? I hope you're okay. I don't know if I've missed any questions. Do drop me a comment if I've missed any questions. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you need, if I haven't already answered. I'll take you very quickly back onto the website if it works. So we are totallybeads.co.uk. This is where you can find your lovely Stacey cuff sparkle bracelets. This one is the emerald green. We have 4 lovely colours for you today: a blue iris, emerald green. It's saying that the purple iris is already out of stock, so we'll see if we can update the stock. Sometimes it could be the seed bead, I'm not too sure, but I'll look into that for you. They're all £8.99, or you can get 2 for £15. If you need to change currency, you can do so at the top of the page, because we ship worldwide. So that is it for me today. I will be back with you on Monday, but with a slight change of scenery. So I'm going to be at the warehouse on Friday. I'm travelling up by train, so I will be with you on Monday, but I'll be doing my live from Kitty's house in Colchester. I'll be surrounded by puppies, so I might be very, very, very distracted because puppies. Oh, do you know what? Shall I just show you the puppies? Can we do that instead? Like this one. Oh, I'm going to be very good. I'm not going to I'll bring beads home with me. I'll bring makes home with me. I won't bring a puppy home with me. Might just smuggle one in my bag. So yeah, very, very excited. You can see what I'm excited about, can't you? But I'm going to be making some earrings, nice, straightforward little earrings with you on Monday. So if you can come and join me for that, it would be great to see you. I mean, if you think technology bad here, wait till I get to Kitty's house. Betel says, thank you, Natalie. The bracelet's very beautiful. Thank you so much, Betel. Thank you for being with me today. I love it when I get someone's name I don't recognise. Doesn't mean you don't always watch, but you don't always comment, because I name as like, these are Stacey. I name our makes after female names usually, so I like to see a name that I'm not that familiar with, because I always end up putting it on my list, and when I make something I think, oh, I'm going to name it after Bethel. She's thinking probably don't, because you're not pronouncing it right. Jan says thank you, they're fantastic. Sheila says very pretty, quick make. Yolanda is saying, is it 66 for each one or total? No, so I use 56 crystals approximately per coil, and you're going to need 3 of those crystal coils for this design. And then I'll use 66 seed beads, sometimes 64. It does depend, because they do sometimes vary in size, and that's per coil. And I'm going to need 2 of the seed beads. How many I've got in total on my arm right now, I'm liking the weight of that. I don't know, but yeah, it tends to be 66 for the seed beads and 56 for the crystal, because they're a little bit wider. Izzy says, great bracelet. I'll be there on Monday. Well, brilliant. Thanks, Heather. Another fantastic tutorial. Didn't go quite as well as I hoped it was going to go, but you got the gist of how it worked. So thank you for being with me today. I'll see you on Monday. I hope you all have a fabulous weekend.